The first feature that actually works for a slower swing player is higher static loft. In 2019, a study conducted by Golf Laboratories using a robot swing set to 75 miles per hour found that a 10.5-degree driver produced a launch angle of just 9.8 degrees. That is too low. At 75 miles per hour, the optimal launch window sits between 12 and 14 degrees. The same robot, with a 12-degree head, jumped to 13.1 degrees. Carry distance increased by 9.2 yards. That is not a marketing claim. That is a mechanical reality. A golfer who swings under 90 miles per hour does not need delofting from a shallow face. They need the face pointing upward at impact. The 12-degree head does what marketing calls forgiveness, but what physics calls proper energy transfer. The ball leaves the face with the correct vertical velocity. It climbs. It stays in the air longer. It lands softer. For a player whose peak carry is 190 yards, those 9 extra yards represent a 5% gain in total distance. 5% from one change. That 9.2 yard gain from 1 degree of loft is the kind of data point that cuts through the noise. If this kind of evidence-based breakdown is what you want from your golf content, subscribe. We keep the marketing promises honest here. And in the comments, drop the word 12 if you are now reconsidering your current driver loft. The second feature that delivers measurable improvement is a center of gravity positioned low and deep toward the rear of the club head. Maltby's MPF data shows that a CG depth greater than 0.85 inches behind the face center produces meaningful increases in moment of inertia. For the slower swing player, that MOI matters differently. When head speed drops below 90 miles per hour, the ball spends more time on the face before separation. The contact window widens. A low-deep CG reduces the gear effect spin on heel and toe strikes, which means a ball struck toward the toe does not curve sideways as violently. In a 2023 test by MyGolfSpy, a driver with a CG depth of 0.92 inches produced a dispersion ellipse 22% tighter than a driver with a 0.78-inch CG depth on center and off-center strikes combined. The slower swing player does not need to center every hit. They need a head that does not punish the ones that miss. The low-deep CG is that head. The third feature is face flexibility that scales with impact speed. Every modern driver has a spring-like face, regulated by the USGA to a characteristic time of 239 microseconds. But the COR varies across the face surface. On a head built for high swing speeds, the maximum face deflection is tuned to a strike near the center at 95 to 110 miles per hour. Below that threshold, the face does not flex enough to store and release elastic energy. The ball leaves slower than the club's potential. Some manufacturers now build variable thickness patterns that increase deflection at lower impact speeds. Callaway's AI, FlashFace, for example, uses a machine learning model trained on thousands of impact points. The result, at 85 miles per hour, energy transfer improved by 1.7 miles per hour ball speed compared to a uniform face design, according to independent data from TXG. That is a material gain. For a player producing 130 miles per hour ball speed, an extra 1.7 represents barely 1 club difference. For a player at 110 miles per hour ball speed, it represents up to 4 yards on a clean strike. The slower the swing, the more the face flexibility can lift the outcome. The fourth feature is adjustable hosel technology, but only when used correctly. The mechanism is simple. Rotating the adapter changes the face angle and loft simultaneously. For a slower swing player, the draw setting is the most valuable. At 75 miles per hour, the average golfer delivers the face open by 2 to 3 degrees at impact. A hosel set to the draw position, usually 1 to 2 degrees upright with a closed face angle at address, compensates for that delivery error without requiring a swing change. The ball starts right of target and curves back to center. TrackMan data from a 2021 study of amateur golfers showed that draw-biased settings on adjustable drivers reduced lateral dispersion by 17% for players under 90 miles per hour. That is not about hitting hooks. That is about removing the slice. For the player who loses 10 to 15 yards to the right on every drive, a hosel setting is the cheapest fix they can buy. Now, here is where it gets dangerous. The fifth feature that works is the one most people ignore. Total club weight. A slower swing player benefits from a lighter overall assembly. Every gram of static weight the player must move during the swing reduces club head speed by a measurable amount. A study published in the Journal of Sports Sciences in 2018 measured the effect. Each 5-gram increase in total club weight reduced club head speed by 0.9 miles per hour in a sample of golfers with an average driver swing speed of 82 miles per hour. That is not trivial. A standard driver with a 45.5-inch shaft, a 200-gram head, and a 50-gram shaft weighs around 320 grams. Swap the head to a 195-gram model and the shaft to a 40-gram ultralight model, and total weight drops by 15 grams. That reduction in isolation adds roughly 2.7 miles per hour of club head speed. At 82 miles per hour, that is a 3.3% increase. Translated to carry distance, that can be up to 5 yards. The lighter club also encourages a smoother tempo, which for many slower swing players improves strike consistency. The data is clear. The heaviest driver in the bag is often the one that slows them down the most. The weight data is the kind of detail that most players never hear about because it does not sell a premium upgrade. If you want more numbers that actually move the needle, subscribe. We burn through the spec sheets so you do not have to. And in the comments, write light if you are now curious about the total weight of your own driver. But not every invention serves the player who actually needs it. The first feature that does not work for slower swing speeds is ultra-low spin head design. These heads are engineered to reduce spin below 2000 RPM for players generating ball speeds above 150 miles per hour. The logic is sound. For high-speed players, excessive spin balloons the ball, reducing carry and total distance. But for a player at 120 miles per hour, ball speed or below, dropping spin below 2000 RPM creates a different problem. The ball launches too flat, loses lift, and falls out of the air earlier. A test by Ping on the G425 LST head, designed for low spin, showed that a player at 85 miles per hour generated an average spin of 2,140 RPM. The standard G425 head at identical conditions produced 2,620 RPM. Carry distance dropped by 3.6 yards. For the high-speed player, the LST head added 7 yards. For the slower swing player, it cost them. The same design that helps a 105 miles per hour swing actually harms a 75 mile per hour swing. That is not opinion. That is the physics of launch angle and spin interaction. The second feature that fails is a shaft with a tip section so stiff that it resists bending through impact. Tour weight shafts, often labeled X-stiff or Tour stiff, are designed to handle aggressive transition and late release. When a player with a smooth, moderate tempo swings that same shaft, the tip does not load properly. The club head lags behind the hands at impact, delivering less loft and a lower launch. A 2022 study by True Temper Sports measured the effect on a group of mid-handicap players with average swing speeds around 80 miles per hour. The stiffest shaft tested produced an average launch angle of 9.2 degrees and a spin rate of 1,180 RPM. The same player with a regular flex shaft in the same head produced 11.8 degrees launch and 2,050 RPM. Carry distance increased by 7.1 yards. That is a club difference. The price premium for a tour stiff shaft often exceeds $100. It is wasted money if the swing cannot activate the profile. 7 yards lost because of a shaft profile that does not match your swing speed. That is a hidden tax on your game. If this resonates with you, there's a lot more where this came from. Link in the description. And in the comments, tell us, have you ever played a stiff shaft out of ego? Type yes or new, we want the honest count. The third feature that does not deliver for slower speeds is an adjustable sole weight that shifts CG forward to reduce spin. The mechanism works. Moving weight toward the face lowers the launch and reduces spin. But for a player already struggling to launch the ball high enough, forward CG compounds the problem. A forward CG position of 1 millimeter ahead of center can reduce launch angle by half a degree and spin by 300 RPM. For a player who already sits at 10 degrees launch, that drop pushes them below the optimal window. The trade-off is not worth it. The forward weight setting is designed for high-speed players who want to lower trajectory against wind or maximize roll on firm fairways. For the slower swing player, that setting reduces carry distance by an average of 4 yards, according to a 2020 analysis by Golf WRX's testing panel. The adjustment dials on modern drivers are powerful. They are not all beneficial. The fourth and most deceptive feature is a very large head volume at the limit of USGA regulation, 460 cubic centimeters. The theory is that bigger heads are more forgiving. They are, in absolute terms. The moment of inertia increases with size, but the rate of improvement flattens after 440 cubic centimeters. The difference between a 445cc head and a 460cc head in MOI is less than 5%. What does increase is the visual footprint. A larger head looks more closed at address, which can trick a player into aiming right to compensate. That compensation introduces a flip release, reducing dynamic loft and spin. The actual forgiveness difference is negligible, but the psychological effect can cost yards. For a slower swing player, a 440cc head with a deep CG often delivers better real-world results than the maximum size head, simply because the player aligns more naturally and delivers the face more consistently. The irony is that the biggest head ends up costing you distance through alignment alone. That is the kind of counterintuitive finding that only appears when you look past the marketing. If you want more of these deeper looks at what actually works, subscribe. We follow the data wherever it leads. And in the comments, drop 440 if you would trade size for better alignment on the tee. If you have ever stood over a brand new driver, felt the weight of the price tag in your hands, and wondered whether the technology was built for you or for the tour player on the box. You already know the feeling. The quiet suspicion that the equipment was designed for someone else. The data confirms it. The 5 features that work, higher loft, low deep CG, variable face thickness, draw-biased hosel settings, and lighter total weight, are the ones geared toward the physics of moderate speed. The 4 that do not work, ultra-low spin heads, stiff tip shafts, forward CG weights, and maximum volume bodies, are optimized for the small fraction of players who swing hard enough to need them. The gap between the two groups is not small. It is the difference between gaining 9 yards and losing 4. That gap is filled with $200 upcharges and marketing terms designed to make every golfer feel like a tour professional. The driver industry sells the dream of speed, but the evidence suggests that for the player who swings under 90 miles per hour, the real gains come from accepting the speed you have and matching the equipment to it. Not chasing the spec sheet, not paying for technology that only works at the extremes. The right features for slower speeds are boring. They are high loft, deep CG, variable thickness, correct hosel setting, and lighter overall weight. They are not flashy. They are not the headline features on the website. They are the ones that actually move the ball down the fairway.